Welcome back to another episode with Fight Pass with Mitch, presented by Notorious Pulls Radio. And for this week's episode, we're going over UFC Fight Night, Mackenzie Dern versus Angela Hill. This fight is taking place this Saturday, May 20th, at the Apex Arena. But before we get into it, if you guys are new to our show, please leave a like, follow, and subscribe us to all platforms, and enjoy. And let's get right into it. So Mackenzie Dern, the number 8 ranked strawweight in the world, is going against Angela Hill, the number 14th ranked strawweight. And this fight was recently rescheduled. It was supposed to take place last week on the same card as Anthony Smith versus Johnny Walker. Obviously, the fight had to be rescheduled, and I'm really happy that the ladies are getting a main event slot this Saturday night, which is absolutely fantastic. As you know, I'm a huge Mackenzie Dern fan. I think she's one of the most beautiful strawweights to fight in the UFC. She's a Brazilian, amazing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, and an absolute amazing, phenomenal competitor in the MMA octagon arena. Obviously, her opponent is very game. Angela Hill, record 15-12. Yes, the record doesn't seem as pretty, but she comes to fight. She has an incredible Muay Thai background, throwing a lot of volume in her fights. There's something about the punches and the kicks and the combination that she puts out that makes her a very crafty strawweight competitor. As you know, Mackenzie Dern's last fight, she obviously lost to Yao Xiaonan. But as you know, Yao Xiaonan had a huge knockout over Jessica Andrade. So big respect to Yan holding it down for China. She's really, really doing her thing in the strawweight division, and she's only going to continue to flourish. Mackenzie Dern, on the other hand, is a very complete fighter, but I do know some of her weaknesses are in her stand-up. When it comes to her ground game, there's no doubt about it. She is top 3 in her division when it comes to grappling. She is one of the most craftiest and one of the most physically strong competitors in her division. I think Angela Hill, size-wise, is a little small, but the only thing Angela Hill is going to have going for her is her volume. This girl loves to fight, and she can take a punch. I do see this fight eventually getting to the ground because I don't see Angela Hill being able to run, especially they're fighting at the Apex. The octagon is slightly smaller than when they fight in major arenas, so I do believe that is a huge advantage to Dern. And once Dern gets her claws on her, she will be able to drag her to the ground and essentially have her way with her, whether she submits her with an armbar, whether she guillotines her, whether she triangle chokes, whether she kimuras her, doesn't matter. Dern can do it all. I think the fight will make it into the second round. I think Angela Hill will be slightly elusive the first round. It'll be hard for Dern to get her to the ground, but I do believe come second round, the tank will slightly deplete. Dern will get her hands on her, get her against the cage, bring her down, and then start breaking her down and being able to finish her with a beautiful submission or with some ground and pound. So that's how I see this main event going Saturday night. Our co-main event, we have two nice big boy middleweights, and that is Edmund the Golden Boy Shabazian. He's an Armenian fighter fighting out of California, out of GFC Gym. A lot of you guys might not know GFC Gym, but that's where Ronda Rousey trained from. And they actually have a lot of great fighters that come from that gym, from Melsik Bagdasharian, Edmund Shabazian brother Leon fought on Dana White's Contender Series before. So that gym has a lot of local talent, and definitely keep an eye on them. A lot of great boxers that come from the gym. His opponent, Anthony Hernandez, another super game guy, is on a 3-fight win streak. He's had his last win against Marc-Andre Barriot, which he finished him by triangle choke. He had a nice unanimous decision win over Josh Frem. And he also had a beautiful guillotine submission over Rodolfo Vieira. As you guys know, Shabazian before was actually a huge, huge star, prospect, contender, whatever you want to say, in the middleweight division. He was on a lovely undefeated streak until he met Derek Brunson. After he fought Derek Brunson and he fought a true wrestler, things went downhill. He unfortunately picked up 3 losses in a row where he lost to Derek Brunson, who has an amazing background in wrestling. He lost to Jack Hermanson, which you obviously know is a very good grappling Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioner, very well respected in that field. And he also lost to the Frenchman who trains with Cyril Gane, and that's a Nasruddin Imamov. His last fight, he did have a great win over Dalcha Lungbambule, but I do believe his biggest weakness is grappling. He is a phenomenal kickboxer, has a lot of power in his hands, has beautiful finishes with his legs when it comes to head kicks, low kicks, body kicks. But when it comes to the ground game, that's what's been hurting Edmund the most. I know he's been doing a lot of training in San Jose at AKA. I know his grappling has been improving, but is it enough against Anthony Hernandez? To me, I don't think so. I believe Hernandez is a much more complete grappler, and the only way for Shabazian to pull off this win is to keep the fight on the ground, to keep the distance, and to stay away from the cage and stay away from being on his back. I do not believe if the fight hits the ground, he will have enough strength. There's a lot of his fights, I've noticed he gasses. Once he gets to the ground and he exerts a lot of energy to get back up on his feet, it hurts his tank and he ends up being finished, unfortunately. So I'm going to have to give the edge to Anthony Hernandez due to the fact he's a more complete fighter, a little bit more craftier than Shabazian. I could be proven wrong. It's just the tape that I've seen and watching his previous fights when it comes to high-level grapplers, he just unfortunately falls short. If this was a more of a stand-up fighter, I do believe it would be in his advantage, but I do believe Anthony Hernandez has enough tools in his arsenal to take out Edmund Shabazian. And I think this is a fantastic co-main event, and you guys should definitely tune into this one. Our next match is a catchweight match with 2 ladies, Emily Ducati and Lupi Godinez. Emily and Lupi both lost to the main event fighter Angela Hill. Angela has 2 nice wins over both of these ladies. They're doing a nice catchweight fight against each other. Don't know watch a lot of tape on them, but I always love watching the ladies fight. So I think I'm gonna have to rock in this case with Lupi Godinez. She had a really, really nice win against Cynthia Calvillo in her last fight, even though the prior one she lost to Angela Hill. Obviously, Emily Ducat is coming off a loss to Angela Hill, and her prior win was against Jessica Penne. To me, it's kind of like a coin flip fight between both of these ladies, but my heart is going with Lupi, and I do believe that she'll be able to edge this fight out at the end of the night. Don't take my word for it, but it's a catchweight fight, and I think it's going to be a really, really interesting fight. Possibly fight of the night. You never know with the ladies. They really leave it all on the line, so I'm super excited for them. The next fight, in my opinion, could have easily, realistically been the co-main event because these 2 guys are absolute amazing fighters to watch. Even though you might not know them too well, well, one of them you know well, but Andre Fiallo is an absolute tough son of a bitch. Even though he's coming off a 2-fight losing streak, he is one of the scrappiest welterweights, and he's going to be fighting Joaquin Buckley, who obviously you know is making his welterweight debut. He is very impressive that he's actually coming down. I thought he was a tremendous middleweight, but I kind of like this idea of him cutting down, kind of losing that bulky muscular frame and leaning out to make 170. It's going to be very interesting. I have a feeling he is going to put himself through a lot of damage to make 170 from 185. I do feel like he's a natural 185. He could even possibly compete at 205. He's huge. He's stocky ass guy. And Buckley's also coming off a 2-fight losing streak. So this fight is literally not that they're fighting for their job in a sense, but this is kind of like the pinpoint of each of these guys' career that they both really need this win to essentially move forward and to continue to get good names, good fights, and fight on main event slot going forward. So for me, I do believe Fiallo has the edge because he's fighting at his weight class. I don't believe the power of Buckley will translate in the welterweight division because of that massive, massive weight cut that he has to make to actually make 170. I can't even imagine how he's going to look on the scale on Friday. I'm going to be super, super curious on how he comes out. And if he makes 170, I'm sure the UFC PI obviously cleared him. They try to make sure that he can drop to that weight class safely and to be healthy and to be ready for fight night. So it's going to be really interesting. And Buckley obviously lost to one of the most exciting fighters. He lost to Chris Curtis by knockout, Action Man, fighting out of Extreme Couture in Vegas. He also lost to the Frenchman, Nasruddin Imamo, who has also been a big stud in the middleweight division. He did have some nice wins over Albert Duraev. He beat Abdul Razak Al Hassan, who's also a killer in the middleweight division, and he had a nice win against Antonio Arroyo. So both these guys have a ton of experience. These guys are not afraid to trade punches, and both of them do not care about essentially getting knocked out because they're looking for a finish. These guys both do not play it safe. These are not your safe fighters, your fighters who are going to be dancing around, running away from each other. These guys are going to stand in the pocket. They are going to trade. They are going to scramble. They are going to put on an amazing show. I am going to give one of these guys is getting a performance of the night bonus because this fight is absolutely not going to the judges. The judges are not going to see the ending. They're not going to be able to judge this fight. Someone is going to win by knockout. I do believe it's going to be Fiallo. The reason I'm saying is because of this weight cut. That's the only thing. If this was a middleweight fight, I would have taken Buckley. But since this is welterweight debut, I'm a little bit nervous for him. So in that sense, I'm going to have to rock with Andre Fiallo, and I think he's going to be able to win this fight by knockout. And for our for our opening fight on the main event slot, we have Diego Ferreira, 17-5, lightweight match, going against one of my favorite veterans in the sport today, and that's Michael Johnson. Michael Johnson, like I said, there isn't anyone who he's not fought. 21-18. Guy has more experience. He's like a Cowboy Cerrone when it comes to the MMA world. To me, he's like a Clay Guida. He's like a Jim Miller. Like, he hasn't gotten that respect of veteranship from the fans. But if you understand and you follow his career, he's fought Khabib Nurmagomedov. He's fought Clay Guida. He's fought everybody. His resume is absolutely insane. And he's a very, very tough and durable fighter. Yes, he's been knocked out. Yes, he's taken big, big beatings. But the man continues to come back with his grit and puts on amazing performances day in and day out. His opponent, unfortunately, Diego Ferreira, is on a 3-fight losing streak. But the opponents that he has fought are absolute stars when it comes to lightweight division. He had a loss to Matthias Gamrot, who's a fucking monster. He lost to Gregor Gillespie, who's also a top lightweight, which I haven't seen in a long time. And I'm actually dying for him to get a matchup so we can actually get him back into the lightweight division. He's actually one of the top wrestlers in the division, and he's also the best fisherman in the division, by the way. He is a huge fisherman, and he swears by it. And he also lost to Beneil Dariush, who, as you know, is going to be fight Charles Oliveira coming up very soon. Johnson, by the way, has also been back and forth. He had a nice win over Mark Diakisi, and he lost to Jamie Malarkey. He had a win against Alan Patrick, and he lost to obviously the legendary Clay Guida, which, like I said, Michael Johnson, Clay Guida. That was a big, big veteranship fight. Both guys laid it out on the line, and obviously Clay Guida came out on top of that fight. Guys, remember, this card is taking place Saturday, May 20th at the UFC Apex. This is going to be a free fight on ESPN Plus, so remember to always tune in. And if you are enjoying our show and you're enjoying our content, always remember to leave a like, follow, and subscribe. And remember, if you truly support NPR, we have the best merch in town. Guys, check us out. We'll see you soon. Your host, Fight Pass with Mitch. Enjoy Saturday night.